Hey there guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna do a short FS economy flight. I'm not gonna show the whole thing on video because the point of this one is not even the flight itself, but the question is 16 gigs of RAM enough for Flight Sim 2020? And the answer is maybe. It's not a yes, it's not a no. It depends on where you want to fly. So I'm gonna explain a little bit more as let me just turn this thing on first. Let me see. I think it's on low idle. That's where it should be for startup, right? So we move this one to idle. This one goes all the way up to max prop. I'm just guessing, not sure. Beacon. And now should be on. Then we turn this on, we turn this on. We turn the avionics on as well. Fuel. There we go. Then we can hit the starter. Okay. So back to the whole RAM thing. It all comes down to where you want to fly. Like, I'm in the middle of West Virginia right now. There's not a lot going on. It's not a big airport. And I'm not even sure if there's photogrammetry because I haven't really looked outside, which I'll do right now. Let's just make sure that there is photogrammetry or not, because I've realized when there's photogrammetry the performance dips substantially, and that's mainly because of the RAM itself. It's not even the card not being able to cope, it's just that the RAM pegs at 15 point something, so performance is unplayable. And let's just say that. So when you're taking off, your frames dip to low like 10s, even less than that, like 2 FPS, 4 if you fancy. It's unplayable basically, but it's just for briefly. So after you're taking off, the frames dip and then they get back to normal somewhat, and once you approach a city with photogrammetry, the frames are gonna drop as well substantially. Then they're finally gonna go back to normal because the RAM is gonna flush. But during this time of like loading the scenery and stuff, when the RAM's all busy and stuff and pegging, you're gonna have like horrible performance. So it's basically takeoff stutter, landing stutter, 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 and then when you're flaring, it stutters a lot. You land, it stutters even more, and then it gets back to normal. You load up a flight in the airport, frames are low, then you wait like 5 minutes, they get back to normal. And apparently, no, that's not photogrammetry. So yeah, that explains the somewhat good frames. Let's get back to the airport, back to the airplane, because that's a rental plane. I'm paying for it, so we gotta get off the ground quickly. Actually, let's just drone lock, follow, and of course it's not helping much because the drone speed is okay, that's too fast. I feel like, oh shit. Okay, so it's all a matter of gosh, I cannot control that. It's way too fast. Oh it doesn't even, oh my god, what happened? Either way, let's just hop back in the airplane. As you can see, the rain's got substantially worse. Also the prop, look at that, it's amazing. The prop wash is making the rain. Look at the rain physics, that's fantastic. Water in the windshield's just getting expelled. That's fantastic. Okay, so today I'm gonna cruise at 8,000. 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, 8,000. We go city eye, GPS mode. And What the hell, even low idle results in high temperatures. Go figure. Weird. Either way, let's just get off here. Clarksburg ground, depart. We're departing north today.
Clarksburg ground, Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf
The
Sierra
ram.
with Quebec request taxi for takeoff north
It's
departure.
around 12 gigs now. It's all the way up to 14.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra taxi to and hold short of
Runway
runway 3
3.
using taxiway Alpha. Contact tower on 126.7 when ready.
Right.
Taxiing hold short runway 3 via taxiway Alpha Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra.
Okay. So I don't think I'm gonna need entry request pushback because I can just, you know, move out of here on my own. Is that a rainbow? Did I see a rainbow? No. Either way, let's move out of here and talk a little bit more actually, not a lot more, because as said previously, I'm not going to cover the entire flight, just the takeoff and maybe a little bit of the climb and cruise. Just, you know, making the point on RAM usage overall with this sim. I've never tried high-end settings or high, just ultra, and it's begging, yeah. When you get to cities like New York, San Fran, LA, you just see the frames go nuts. It's not consistent. It's not like, oh, you're gonna always be playing at sub 10 frames, but there's a moment when the RAM just specs so much that the GPU, you know, it bottlenecks your whole computer. So the GPU just gives up like 20% load, 40% load, and you get like horrible frames. And your RAM's begging, your GPU is not working as it should be because of the RAM bottleneck. So yeah, if you want to have the full experience, if you want to have solid 20 plus frames all the time, of course it's gonna dip eventually, but if you want to have always above that 20 mark, you should go for 32, which is something I plan to do soon as well. Because I'm getting tired of like flying into big airports and the frames dipping. It's not the end of the world. I mean, I'm used to that. I'm a flight simmer. I mean, I played Flight Sim X and P3D, which also has similar issues around like massive airports. So it's not like it's something new, but the fact that now we finally have an up-to-date engine that can, on paper, it can provide a stutter-free experience. On paper, I'm not sure. I have not tested myself with more than one stick. I have a single channel, 16 gigs of RAM, so I've not tested myself. But on paper, virtually, one could have a stutter-free experience, which I cannot really, you know, state with 100% certainty that it's true, because I don't have the RAM yet. But I plan to, and I'm gonna record videos and compare performance figures. I'm gonna even show a clip on that comparison video when it comes. I'm gonna show a comparison with 16 out of New York. It was not New York itself, surroundings, an airport near New York, but it had full photogrammetry, so the RAM was pegging a lot, and I had frames as low as 1 FPS. Amazing PowerPoint experience. Well, stuttery as it was, it was also one of my favorite flights so far, because that's where I got to see the full potential. Like, how good it can actually look. Because that was like, you know, older settings photogrammetry with like the nice clouds and stuff, it's amazing. And it's, it kind of sucks that my RAM's just not enough for it just yet. So I have to avoid big cities if I'm streaming, that is. Without streaming, you kind of, you know, it's sort of possible. It's doable. I wouldn't say, well, it doesn't start at times, but not to like sub 10 frames. You can definitely play ultra settings with 16 if you don't stream, if you don't run anything on background. But then again, you know, by anything on background, I mean no web browsing, no Discord, anything of that sort. Because if you have any of that, the RAM is gonna bottleneck. So you're gonna be on a tight overhead. You know, it's just a tiny overhead. So you gotta keep that in mind. If you can totally play with 16 and have a somewhat stable experience, but you gotta say goodbye to Streamlabs, your web browser. So if you want to run an app to like track your flights and stuff, you're gonna have issues because the RAM is gonna be on a very limit. So you gotta keep that in mind. But if you don't bother with that, you're gonna be alright. If you just want to play the game, I've run some testing and stuff without any stuff in background, and performance was somewhat acceptable. I had drops like New York City, I had as low as 20, 21, but compared to 1 FPS, you know, that's much more considerable. I mean, it's playable, it doesn't really, you know, break the experience by any means, so it was totally flyable. But once I opened the Streamlabs and start streaming, the frames just dip because the RAM cannot cope with the whole thing. So if you want to play flight sim and stream, I mean, and run stuff on background, web browser, if you want to like check Twitter or Facebook or whatever, you gotta keep in mind that dips might happen. And substantial dips, I'm not talking about 5 FPS, I'm talking about 10 plus dips. it's horrible, but yeah. So it's kind of a yes and no when it comes to can I actually play flight sim with 16 gigs of RAM? Yes, you can, but you have to make a few compromises, which you didn't have to make before with B2D, X-Plane, or whatever. So you gotta keep that in mind. And yes, you should consider an upgrade, because you know, flight sim is a lot more fun when you stream it to your friends, when you record your flights. I mean, of course, it's very subjective, but I do prefer to stream my flights, and with my amount of RAM, I cannot really do that. So from that, almost 13.2 gigs of RAM, I could say 1 is Streamlabs, basically. So if I had Streamlabs closed, I would have a lot more overhead. And I mean, that's not photogrammetry zone, that's like West Virginia. Take me home, country roads, you know. Got a lot going on, just country roads, not so big cities, and a lot of green, a lot of mountains and stuff. So, you know, RAM is fine. Well, let's just say we're taking off from like, you know, JFK or LaGuardia. That 13 would be 15, 14 without Streamlabs, and then you add Streamlabs on top of that, Google Chrome and all this stuff, and you know what it means. What it translates into, basically 5 FPS unplayable. So yeah, let's take off. We got a clearance. This one goes, oh shit, not that, jeez. Not that, hold up. That, oh. Make sure. Then we, oh, no, not that. Flaps, please. There you go, flaps for takeoff. We can take the parking brake. Let's move and take off. Finally. West Virginia. Oh, look at the stutters. That's more on the CPU this time, not the RAM itself. But you know, I could even show you guys what happens, but oh, it's so painful. Because you gotta wait like 5 minutes from like loading into the airport to being able to hit fly now and stuff. Hit fly, I mean not fly now. Fly now is from the flight plan creator thing. But once you load in the airport and, you know, it shows that little animation of plane just taxiing to the runway or stuck at a gate, and, you know, different camera angles and stuff. When you hit fly, you know, If you're M-spegging, you're gonna have like a very, very, very power-pointy experience, like 1-2 FPS for like 5 minutes, so it's painful. I would show you guys, but you know, it just hurts to see that, because it brings flashbacks from when I had integrated graphics card, and that would be the usual. Like whenever I try to play a AAA game, that would be the usual outcome, you know, 5 FPS, lots of stuttering all over. And you know, I thought, oh, it's never gonna happen again now, because you know, got a dedicated card and stuff, so I'm not gonna have to worry about that no more. Little did I know. Oh shit. Little did I know it was what had coming. What I had coming for me, and a horrible, horrible performance. But it's all down to the RAM pegging. Not the card, not the CPU, just the RAM being a pain in the ass. Oh my lord. Look at that. So yeah, if you really want to play ultra settings and have the best experience that money can buy, just go for 32. That's definitely what I'm gonna do, and I plan to record a video once I get the upgrade and once I get everything working, to compare like numbers, play for a couple hours and come to a conclusion if it's really worth it. It's from now I just imagine it's the case. I'm not sure because I haven't tested it myself. But given how the RAM just seems to be the bottleneck in big cities. It's not a bottleneck now. It could be soon, because look at that, ramping up. RAM usage is ramping up substantially. But from now, it's still not the main cause of the stutters. Mainly because I'm recording and stuff, that's why it's just a little stuttery. Usually without recording, it's a very smooth experience. But I want to have that while recording as well, or streaming, or whatever, you know. I want to have a solid flying experience at all times, and with 16, that just doesn't happen at ultra settings. Not sure about high-end, not sure about high, because I haven't tried yet. I plan to, but I haven't tried yet. So, and that also doesn't depend on resolution at all. Even 1080p, I've tried 1080p as well, and the same thing happens. The same dips keep happening, because then again, it's not the card that's not being able to, you know, pull the task. It's not a card not being able to lift the load. It's just the RAM bottlenecking, and then the PC just doesn't know what to do anymore. So it's not really the GPU's or CPU's fault, more so RAM bottleneck, a clear RAM bottleneck, which then again doesn't happen often. It's just around big cities, so if you avoid them, you're not gonna have the issue, basically. If you fly around like small cities or non-photogrammetry cities, you're gonna have a great time. That's not gonna happen. The frames are not gonna dip. But once you get to New York, Boston of sorts, LA, goodbye frames, goodbye fun. Basically Toronto even. Like I've tried Toronto and the frames were awful. Like god awful while recording. If I'm not recording, if I don't have GeForce Experience running or Streamlabs, performance just gets back to average. I mean, it's gonna dip at times while loading the buildings and stuff, but it's just a very slight dip, barely noticeable. So yeah, I think that's it for today. I mentioned before that wouldn't be the whole flight. I wouldn't record the entire thing because it's a longish flight. For YouTube, I mean, it's not a long flight per se, but for a video, that would be far too long. And it's just, you know, the video just revolves around one question, one thing that doesn't really take that hell of a time. So one can only ramble for, you know, sure amount of time in that regard, because there's not really a lot to say. It's basically, yes, you can play Ultra with 16, but you gotta make a few compromises. That is not running any background applications. Forget about streaming if you're running 16 gigs of RAM, Ultra settings. You know, but if you want to have the full experience, if you want to stream, if you want to, you know, browse the internet, watch videos, Netflix, whatever, you gotta have double, twice as much RAM. And then you can finally have the so-called Ultimate flight sim experience without any struggles. That's basically it. So yeah, see you guys in the next one. I might record a couple of extra benchmark videos, maybe even scenery reviews and stuff. I'm still studying what I can do with Flight Sim 2020 in terms of content for my channel. I'm not sure about acceptance, because, you know, it's mainly an IT channel, so I'm not sure if people really want to see me flying planes. Mainly because I don't really, you know, it's not like I know much about planes. Other than Airbus, of course, which I have 1K hours sunk on. Almost 2K hours of Airbus, so that's kind of my jam. But when it comes to Grand Caravans and stuff, I really don't know much what I'm doing. I'm just, you know, just pretending that I kind of get the whole thing. So I'm not really sure if that's what people want to watch, if that's the kind of content that people are looking for on my channel. Even it's an IT channel mainly. But yeah, you'll see. Only the future will tell. But from now, that's about it. See you guys next one. And as always, comment section is open. You're free to leave your feedback. Your opinions are always valid. Very important for myself, so that I can know what people are looking for and what's wrong, what I should improve on, what is, you know, solid, what is not. It's always good to have feedback either way. So yeah, you guys have a good one. Stay safe, wear masks, and that's about it. Adios. Oh, hold up. Fail. There you go. Adios.